Hey there everybody, and welcome to my quick construction guide for Songs of Syx. I'm Icon, and in this video I'm going to explain you how to construct buildings in this wonderful game. I'm going to explain the user interface element that is used for pretty much all the buildings in this game, and in the second half of the video I'm going to talk about a couple of tips and tricks that help you getting your construction jobs done in time. So let's not waste any more time, let's get started. So we're going to start out as an example here with a warehouse, but seriously what I'm doing next is going to work for pretty much every building in the game. So when we enter this, or when we enter the construction, we always get something like this window. Over here we have the settings for the actual foundation of the building. Here's the furniture, and here's the bill what we're going to pay. So by default, we have the expand room command, and you can just drag and drop a building according to the sizes you want it to. And what we see now here is a room. The blocks outside here are the walls. These dotted lines in here are the interior of the room, and the yellow spots here mark that my building is not stable enough. An unstable building happens when the foundation of the building is too large. For example, if we do it crazy like that, you see the yellow area grows larger and larger. The yellow area marks that this building will cost way more material and it will be harder to maintain, so it will need more work. I'm going to teach you though how to avoid that in a minute. So let's return to that small thing because we don't need that much of a huge building for starters. So if you ever don't want walls around your building, it's this button you're looking for. If you check mark this, you see, you either remove or add in the walls. Over here we select which kind of material shall be used. It's either wood, stone, or cut stone. And with this button here we can add in some doors. Doors are imperative, so always build them. You can't actually finish a building with walls without adding any doors. The game will warn you about that. Now, we're going to remove this nasty yellow splotch in here. For that, you just go into the shrink room command, and you just set down one click here. And then what happens is you add in a pillar, a piece of wall, which stabilizes the building, and that solves the problem. You might need more stabilizers when the building is insanely huge. Let's go back to the insanely huge building here. So you might need more than one of these pillars to get rid of all the yellows, but always get rid of all the yellows. They are really bad for you. So once that's all done, let's go on a 13 on 13 base or something like that. Here we go. We get to add in the furniture. We should not forget the doors. Add in doors wherever you want to. It's up to you. The more doors, the more accessibility. But the more doors, also the isolation of the building drops. So isolation is important to prevent room degradation and sound streaming out of buildings. So for workshops, that's sometimes pretty important. Now, these storage bins here can be added in as much as just as you want them. And the right click always undoes your last step, in case you didn't know that already. You can also change the size of the furnitures by holding down the left control button and using your mouse wheel, or using the E button for enlarging it and the Q button for making it smaller, just as you want to. R button rotates these thingies, and that's about all you need to care about. So when we place down the crates, we see that the storage of this building changes. Build as much as you need to. It's always up to you. It always depends on the building. And now we just check mark this and tell our people to construct. What happens next is your dudes will all start to grab up their tools and start building. The building procedure always follows like this. First they pave the ground, then they collect the resources to build, then they do the outer shapes, do this, and then when the outer shapes are done, they'll start to build the actual furniture. In between these steps, there will be always an allocation of materials, as you see here. Now they have all the materials for the outerior shapes, and now they are idling out. So, other buildings in this game work pretty much the same. There's only one difference. Let's go for example for a carpenter here. And a carpenter's workshop has some other buildings that I want to explain real quickly. The shape and the foundation of that is all the same, so we're going to just do it like that. But the furniture of this shop is a little bit different. So the workbench tells us how many workers can work in here. So you see 3 workers. And then there are auxiliary stations. Auxiliary stations are a thing that happens in almost every construction of manufacturing buildings. The more you have of them, the more efficiency bonus your building gets. And the rule of thumb is try to be at 100% efficiency whenever you can, because it's really, really good to be there. So beyond that, let's go for the last type of buildings. There's also stuff like hygiene and, where was it again? Here, dormitories where people sleep at. So for sleeping spots, you see, you get a different readout about the amount of beds and the coziness. The coziness, well, is kind of like the efficiency of your sleeping rooms. You might already notice the system stays the same at all points, and that's something I really, really like about this game. So with these things said and done, the only thing that I want to talk about is how to amp up your efficiency with these things and how to refurnish a room. So first off, to increase the efficiency of buildings, right now my people are working all good and such, but if you ever have your buildings not being finished or whatever, there are a couple of things you can use. There's, for one, the hauler. The hauler is a really cool building. You just place one down and then you tell him what kind of good he's supposed to haul there. So if you are building a large scale project and you can mouse over here, so for example, we see we need wood and stone, we're just going to build 2 haulers, place them right next to each other. You can largen and biggen them as much as you need. Just keep in mind that blue dotted square here is the amount of storage that hauler will use. And we'll tell these haulers now to use these spots to bring wood and stone here. This can speed up your progress by a lot. Another thing that helps out a ton if things don't get ahead because you don't have enough people working there, you can employ a builder's outpost. The builder's outpost works just like the haulers. You don't need to build anything actually. You can just tell people to be at this spot and do construction job that happens in these blue dotted squares. You can increase the radius, and as you see here, the blue dotted square radius increases with that. Pretty nifty, pretty useful, and you can always just delete those afterwards when you don't need them anymore. I like to use these little methods to speed up the production of my rooms. So let's allow me to fast forward until this thing is done. Now our warehouse is in the last few steps before completion. You see, now they add in the resources for the furniture because they completed the step before that, and after that these resources have been allocated there, the actual building will be completed. This is very important to know because every construction has 2 faces, the exterior face and the interior face, and they will only start building the interior as soon as the second wave of goods has been actually implied. So here we are done with that point, and the last thing that I want to talk about here is this refurnished room option. So whenever you do this, be aware of one thing. As soon as you refurnish room, it loses all of its function. So as soon as I start this command here, this room does not work for anybody anymore. And also, if you cancel it during this time, you will actually delete the room itself. This is very important to know, and it really, really bummed out a lot of people. So when you want to redecorate your warehouse, you go for the refurnish button and you only do it when you really, really want to do it, okay? Otherwise you'll delete your room and you'll be sad. But as you see here, I'm just reassigning the room here, and I let them build the crates, and there's not that much lost. You just have to replace the room, and your people will replace the interiors again. This is a little bit janky, and I'm pretty sure that this is just an early access feature of the game that will change in the future. But to properly do it, you just click that refurnishing thing, and then you place down whatever you want to place extra down. Then you see the costs here. You check mark that up with a positive here, and then everything's good. But keep in mind, during this refurnishing time, the warehouse won't work until the new stuff is done, and that's true for every building in this game. Last thing that I want to talk about is how to build mines and such, because they behave completely differently. So first off, you need to look for a deposit of something. The deposits are always marked with red lines on the map. You can find them like that, and then you just select the mines. You find them in the work tab under mines, and then you select the according mine, and you already can see that you get a kind of a greenish sheen over these. Well, here it's not that well visible. Let's go over to the iron ore. There you can see it better. And you always have to put these mines above the deposits. There's one thing that I want to talk about, because it drove me crazy when I tried it out the first time. When I build mines, I always build mines over the entire deposit and a little bit more. And if you do so, you will end up with an insane amount of necessary workers. Don't worry, you can assemble that down, and it doesn't really make that much of an extra work. But if you have that mine area completely covered over the entire deposit, then it's up to you how many people you put there. This is important only because of one reason. If you only, let's say, mark a small amount of that, your people will use weak deposits. There are stronger and weak deposits. You see, this one has 25% density, and this one has only 7% density. So when you go over there and start building a big mine here, your people will always aim for the highest density node before they go for the worst density node. So this is only an efficiency thing. And that's all I wanted to say about the construction topic. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed. I'm trying to keep up with these shorter videos, just featuring single features. And if you have any ideas what I should do next, feel free to tell me. Leave your comments down below. Leave your questions there also. I'll do my best to answer them. Leave a thumbs up on that video if you found that informational and helpful. And last but not least, check out my channel, subscribe, and turn on the notifications to stay informed about any daily content I put up there. See you guys next time. Bye bye.